earlier this week, we alluded to the Year of Tolerance.
Right.
And you alluded to, this is a second
Illusion?
Oh.
Not illusion, not to be confused with illusion.
I like that transformation of the word there. So you also alluded to the United Arab Emirates, right? Did I say it right that time?
That's right.
And their mission to make 2019 the Year of Tolerance. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today.
Absolutely fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, we have friends of our family, and their daughter is working in Dubai in a school for children with autism.
Yeah.
And she's here for the holidays. And so but they had a lively conversation with her about things in Dubai, which is part of the UAE.
Right. So the UAE is a collection of leaders from some of these different Arab countries, and they are working together in this united front to promote the geographic region and to promote their society in general and their cultures.
And they do speak with some authority, because these are, and they're called emirates, which are ruled by emirs, E-M-I-R, and an emir is their word for ruler. And so you have these 7 disparate kind of countries, like mini countries, who have decided to have a loose confederation called the United Arab Emirates. So they have learned to be tolerant despite their differences, despite different leadership.
Right.
They have learned to accept their differences, and so they do speak with some moral authority on this issue. I mean, if somebody's going to do this, who better than the United Arab Emirates? And so for those of you who don't, many of you have heard about Dubai. We're hearing a lot about Dubai. Dubai is at the end of the peninsula in this region, so it's part of the United Arab Emirates.
Yeah. And what's fascinating about this is because we often associate many of the Arab nations as being in high conflict and in war and just not getting along very well.
Being intolerant of others.
Right. And here we have these 7 groups who are getting together and working to promote equal rights and tolerance and just respect for one another, despite some of the differences that could be cultural, religious, and just general life perspective differences between these different groups.
And it gives us in our country pause, because our anti-Muslim fervor certainly increased after 9/11. However, this gives us pause to say it really isn't all Muslims who are intolerant.
Right.
It's a group of fanatical Muslims, but we have fanatics in all religions.
Right.
Okay, and it's the fanatics who drive the intolerance. Okay,
Right.
but they base this on on 5 pillars. There's 5 basic issues. The first is to deepen the values of tolerance.
Right.
They want to get the word out and discuss it, so they're going to dedicate the year. And as it turns out, Pope Francis
He's
is
February.
going to, the head of the Catholic Church will be going to the UAE to say a Mass.
Right.
Okay, so again, you have this ecumenical spirit,
Right.
which is a good example of tolerance, because now you have what we think of as 2 warring religions will be getting together.
That was quite a word.
What?
Ecumenical?
Ecumenical. How do you like that?
We're just
Like illusion.
having a vocabulary test today.
Like illusion. Okay, second pillar. To solidify the UAE as the capital for tolerance.
Right.
What a wonderful aspirational goal.
Well, and one has to recognize that, not to exaggerate anything, but if this group can, people from that region can exercise tolerance at the level that they're discussing, anyone should be able to.
Right. And I wished our country had taken the lead in this to say we want the United States to be the capital of tolerance, which we I would love for us to be able to get there someday. It seems like a far off dream right now.
Right.
But I'm glad some part of the world is going to be this beacon of tolerance.
Right. The third pillar is that the UAE is going to enact multiple cultural programs and contributions to build tolerant communities.
Right.
So they're going to go not just sort of on this, I'm going to use the word grandiose, but I don't mean it disparagingly, but they're going to go into actual communities and build some of these programs to encourage tolerance.
Right. And putting their money where their mouth is, and number 4 surprised me, the fourth pillar surprised me, because they're actually going to have legislative mandates and policies that will mandate tolerance. In other words, they're really pushing this thing into legislative and policy issues.
And they specify cultural and religious tolerance, which is, again, very critical, because some of those differences is what we see as the primary impetus or cause or trigger for some of the war and conflict over there.
Exactly. And the fifth?
The fifth will focus on promoting tolerance and coexistence through targeted media initiatives and projects. So they're going to promote this through their media and.
So as we enter 2019, keep an eye out for this because they're going to have a media blitz of some type. I don't know what it's going to look like, but they are going to make this known, broadcast it to the world. So keep an eye on things, and you might, hopefully you'll hear about this. 2019 is the year of tolerance in UAE. It follows another year of tolerance, 1995.
Right.
The United Nations decided that proclaimed 1995 as the year of tolerance.
24 years ago.
Right. And that was I think it was the 50th. It had something to do with Mahatma Gandhi. It was either his birth or death or something. There was something about 1993 or 1995. And a year later, the United Nations said that November 16th would be the Day of Tolerance. Right. So every year, November 16th, about a week before Thanksgiving, is the United Nations Day of Tolerance. So this isn't a new idea, but delighted. I'm absolutely wonderful that the UAE is taking up this initiative.
Absolutely.
So kudos to them and thank you.
Absolutely. So we have one more podcast that we'll post for tomorrow that will sort of wrap up our discussion, and we're going to bring it a little bit more closer to home. We're going to talk about some issues here in the U.S. related to tolerance, things that we've, again, alluded to throughout the course of the week. But remember that starting next week, we are shifting to one podcast a week. So this is sort of our last weekday.
Unless we suffer withdrawal, and then we'll throw in a couple more.
We find ourselves with not much to do.
We're going to try to go to one because we have a number of other projects that they're only the two of us, and we have limited amounts of time and energy. But there are several other projects, writing projects, workshops, presentations that we have on our schedules for next year. We don't want to overextend too far. So we're going to have to make some changes in 2019. Plus the practice is growing, and there are going to be other administrative responsibilities. So things are growing and improving, and so this may be one of the changes that we make.
Absolutely. So, but that'll be starting next week, 2019.
I can't believe today's oh my goodness.
Yep. So,
okay.
All right. Well, that is it for today. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and forget to be afraid.